Ready?
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Harold with...
Hi, I'm Geoff Hemingway.
We are here for my second Tuesday Talk, and I would like to start it by letting you know that we are MFF's best palindrome.
We are HGGH.
Works perfectly.
Pal.
Yeah, pals.
Palindrome.
Jeff, how long have you been here?
I've been in MFF for, almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in June. And that was legitimate surprise. I wasn't like, well, wow, it's been almost 2 years. It's crazy, though. It seems like longer than that. Like, I feel like you've been here for... I mean, you started 2 months after than I did.
I did. I started
But I feel like we've been here
September.
for, like, 3 years already.
Yeah.
5 years. Not that 3 is that much more than 2, but like...
Right. It's time dilation at its finest.
Don't say dilate.
We
We can cut this out in post.
Did you guys know that there's some post-production here?
Also, you guys, we train a lot of, like, Broadway film stars, so we know all the lingo, like, post. And Broadway film stars is totally redundant. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we know our business.
As an aside, I started watching the Golden Globes last night, and I just couldn't appreciate the dresses and the speeches as well as my friends. So I had a little Strength Coach Sunday moment, and I took a contrast shower, which was also an awful idea because the cold water is the worst. Contrast showers are awesome for recovery, and just not the most comfortable if you don't like cold water.
No way.
Which I'm going to use as a shameless transition. Jeff, what's your favorite recovery strategy from a nice hard workout?
That's a great question, actually. Let me first touch back on cold water. One of the very first things I remember about fitness, Dan John, we were at the beach one time and the water was freezing cold. I remember being like, I'm not going in there. And he was like, actually, that's your most natural fat burning system is to like get in some cold water and just like let it seize up.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've appreciated the cold shower or even cold bath post workout, especially if it's really strenuous. But what I really like immediately following, like for me, a really strenuous workout is the kettlebell snatch test.
Totally.
And immediately following the snatch test, I like to get on the ground. I like to get up and down off the ground or crawl.
Yeah.
Maybe even do some belly lift breathing, which is relatively new for me.
Right.
But I feel like because at the lockout position of the snatch test at the top, I feel like I run the risk of being hyperextended a lot.
Yeah.
And like especially with the pacing of it. So when I get down in that kind of Halloween cat hunched over position, I feel like it's a nice reset. And then even baby crawling or just gentle bear crawls just kind of helps reset your, your neuro whatever. I believe that's the technical term.
That's the technical term, neuro whatever.
And it's just kind of a nice victory lap. I will say, having done it in front of like SFG brass, like Dr. Mark Chang or Pavel, it makes you look like a bitch to like finish and be like, yay, and then immediately drop down and like crawl away. But it really, for me, is the best way. I really have gotten into, branching out from kettlebell work, which is my wheelhouse. I've really gotten into crawling and moving around on the ground a lot. And, I mean, we did our TRX cert the other day, which is, I don't love that as much because it requires the TRX.
Right.
But all that original strength, animal flow, primal move. I know RKC has their PCC program, which is progressive calisthenics or something like that with Al Cavadlo. Like, that kind of stuff is fascinating to me.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
I find it just really Jedi. Like, it's so middle of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, like...
it's like
Luke
crawling
is
around.
Luke is in the
the
Dagobah
swamps of
system.
Dagobah.
Yeah, you've got Yoda on your back. Like, you're not allowed to use your weapon belt or whatever, nerd. But, like, he's doing handstands. He's climbing ropes. I mean, it's ultimate... And it's also Rocky IV. It's like ultimate farmhouse conditioning. It's like making the most of your environment without the scary Russian technology in that movie, which turns out to be a treadmill and this weird machine, but like we've evolved so much. But I think to me it's like I'm really mixing my movie metaphors here. But
no, it's fine because I was actually going to say I feel like if you're doing your kettlebell work or your bodyweight, your ground based work, some crawling variations with a friend.
Yeah.
To me, I think of Sam and Frodo climbing those stairs as they work their way past.
That's so funny.
What is it, Minas Morgul?
Yeah. It's so funny you talk about that because, I wrote those movie workouts for the audience out there, douche. But for people that don't know, I put together like this small book of movie themed workouts. So there's like a Back to the Future one where I use two 20K bells, which totals 88 pounds.
Totally.
I do 55 reps of every exercise because it's 1955.
Mm-hmm.
But I put together a Lord of the Rings one, actually inspired by you, which is
Oh.
just progressively heavier loaded carries because poor Frodo, like the ring gets heavier and heavier.
Right.
And then in between those carries, you're crawling like Gollum. So you do Spider-Man crawls or lateral bear crawls or whatnot. And then at the end, you do eagle raises, lateral raises for the eagles.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's the progressive loaded carries followed by quick crawling will kick your ass. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's so simple, but it's really not easy, which I find great.
And that sounds like something that we can have somebody do, like upstairs in the Dragon Lair,
Yeah.
but somebody can do anywhere in the world.
Totally, and you don't need a kettlebell. Like, that's what's cool about it. Like, if you have a gym bag and some books, fill your gym bag with books, or fill your backpack with some shit,
Mm-hmm.
and then, or stuff. So fill your book bag with some stuff,
Yeah.
whatever's around the house, and then just get progressively heavier or lighter as you go. And that's easy peasy, and it's awesome. Until I started here and working with Dan and that kind of thing, I never knew how relatively simple it could be to put together a workout.
Right.
Using your environment. And I think that's why the bodyweight stuff gets me so, boned up, because it's just, you can drop down and crawl for 30 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and you're fucking smoked. Like, it's so effective and
Yeah.
efficient, and I like that.
I like that you referenced Dan John, and his use of simplicity. It's funny, Mark emailed me the other day, and I wrote that article for the MFF blog,
Yeah.
Brilliant at the Basics, which is a phrase I think I first heard from Mike Boyle, and
Love
I'm
him.
sure that it's something that Dan has put in writing somewhere before. But on Dan's blog that he has, he wrote something, and he referenced that article, and it should be
Yeah.
that simple. And I like that Dan John, somebody who, in the strength coaching land, is like this big, powerful figure,
Yeah.
and probably less so in the group exercise land. Like, they haven't gotten over to that end
Totally.
of the strength continuum.
Mm-hmm.
But he's referencing that thing that's coming from a facility where we use progressive strength training techniques all of the time.
Yeah.
And we're not as obsessed with putting more weight on the bar as other places. But it's that simple. Then you can hinge and squat and push and pull and carry, and you kind of get it all done with that.
And I think, too, Dan has said that for a long time, but I think it really hit home with him when he went to that summit at Stanford with Gray Cook and Stu McGill.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the three of them in front of an audience of thousands or whatnot. And it was just like Gray and Stu reinforcing, like, if you can't do these patterns perfectly with no load, like, why would we load you? Like,
Right.
work the pattern. And if that's hard, that's your workout,
Right.
And sometimes, like, upstairs or when we're working, I put people through naked get-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where you
they're,
take off all of their clothes. Right?
yeah, they're just, like, buck-ass naked. And it's pretty gross sometimes. But there's a lot of body hair issues. But, and I've heard people being like, it's harder to do it without a bell.
Totally.
And which is fascinating to me. And especially if you slow them down. Like, if you unload people and have them do just regular get-ups with no load, they try and go so fast and get through it.
For the record, a naked get-up is a regular get-up with no load.
No load, sorry. Also buck naked. But yeah, it's fascinating how, and I don't know if it's that we live in Manhattan, if that's part of it, but people, especially when there's no load overhead or no load on them, want to speed through everything. And it's like, no, man, slow it down.
Oh,
like,
totally.
You're going to get so much more benefit if you take time and just feel every inch of that movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's interesting. I don't know.
No,
To me, it is.
That's money. And is the Turkish get-up?
Yeah.
Where does that fall into your training arsenal? Do you like that with beginners? Do you like that with veterans?
Oh, I like that with everybody. The get-up was actually the first pattern on the floor that I learned. The first rolling pattern on the floor that I learned. I learned it before we did a lot of bear crawls or anything. He likes to take it apart and use it as your warm-up. So you'll do the first roll from side to side. He calls those rolling 45s. Then you go into the leg sweep, and it's just all unloaded, and that's your warm-up pattern. You just keep working the pattern and fixing everything, fixing everything as you go. And then it really hit home for me when I went to my first SFG cert, and the whole time they're teaching the get-up, their mantra is, there's no reason for you to be in a bad position in the get-up. Because every shift, you have time to fix it. You're supposed to take your time and set up perfect positions in each, photograph, each picture. And for me, that just hit home. And coming from a stage background, being an actor on stage or whatever, when you're setting your show in tech rehearsal, like right before you open the show, they tell you each scene should be a photograph.
Yeah.
Like you need to hit your spots. Each tableau should stand alone in a photograph.
Right.
And that just translated so well for me with the Get Up. Like each spot, I should be able to be on the cover of Get Up Weekly.
Right.
Which I had to cancel my subscription to because it's super preachy. Like
right. The thing that I don't like about Get Up Weekly is that they just put too much of an emphasis on the Get Up.
It's crazy. Like branch out.
Yeah.
I do like the fashion articles.
Really cool. They're...
who wore it best.
Right, the naked Get Up articles were getting... I felt weird reading...
Super porny.
Yeah, reading that on the subway was awkward.
Yeah, it was really weird. It's like being on a plane and watching a reader.
I love that you talked about slowing down the Get Up.
Yeah.
I performed it over the summer. Dan and Gray talked about
figure eight.
the Get Up like a vertical carry.
Yeah.
Right, and like you're not going to run when you do a farmer's walk. It's slow and controlled, or smooth and controlled.
Totally.
And the turkey Get Up should be the same thing.
I mean, coming into carries, like... I had no idea just walking with weight could be so effective. And just so many of the people on my Facebook page now are trainers and strength coaches and stuff. And you get a lot of people's feed of like, I tore my lat, I tore my rotator cuff, I tore this. So now I'm getting back into it. And what they start with is just walking with weight. And they get so strong with it. Like, I love that shit. February. Yeah, the month of February, Gibbons and I are going to carry our body weight every day for some distance.
Yeah, it's going to be weird with some of my bike rides, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're just going to load that backpack up. Come on, it's going to hunt you over.
3 liters of water. So, Geoff, what for you seems like an appropriate weight for farmer's carries?
Oh, wow. Well... That's a great question. We were doing a series of carries a couple months ago in one of our classes.
Yeah. And
I was like, I'm going to blow these ninjas' minds. And I would pick up like 236s and then promptly gave myself tennis elbow. So, I mean, from gripping the shit out of it. So that was a mistake. I would say if you base it on your body weight,
right,
I would say you should be able to carry half your body weight for some amount of distance.
Right.
Whether that's time or like you go out in the backyard and you're like, I'm going to carry it across the yard and back.
Yeah.
For me I'm like 180 right now, so that's 90 pounds. That's 45 in each hand. So, 220s, which saying that to me seems ridiculously light.
Right.
And I could carry that I could probably carry 220K bells just at my side for probably 2 minutes solid.
Yeah. I was actually going to say you could probably walk home from here with that.
Probably. And that's like 7 miles.
Yeah.
Actually, though, I was carrying a 45-pound bell. I got it at Modell's. That's why it's pounds. Which is basically a 20K.
Right.
And when I go home, I have it at home. And when I don't make it here, that's what I do for my workout.
Oh, nice.
Is I'll just take it outside and just walk around with it. And my neighborhood has lots of hills and stuff like that. And I would say I can hold it in one hand for about a minute to a minute and a half. Right. If I'm going uphill, a minute. But then it's cool because that weight allows me to do a variety of carries. So I can put it overhead and do a waiter walk. I can carry it at the rack. I can do lateral walks with it, like side steps, and it makes it heavier.
That's nice.
So I would say, like, find a comfortable weight that's not going to make you poop yourself. But you want it to be challenging. Like, I want you to have to put it down in, like, a minute.
Yeah. Like,
I want you to be like, okay, like, I can make it to that fence, or I can make it to that stop sign, and then I have to put it down and shake it out.
You pick that next target.
If there's not a point in your carry where you're like, holy shit, I have to put this down, you're not carrying heavy enough.
Awesome.
Like, challenge yourself. Like, at first, I would carry like 216s to be like, I'm doing a loaded carry. And then I was like, actually, I'm not. Like, I'm just bullshitting myself. And then, like, at Dan's house, he has these heavy, heavy duffel bags, and he makes his guys bear hug carry them around the block like 3 times.
That sounds fun.
It's
horrible.
Ridiculous, but I mean, it's so effective.
Yeah.
And I tried to program that here with the sandbags, and the ninjas were not having it. Every program I got was like, ditch those bear hug carries. Like, I don't want those. They're so hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they're hard as hell, but they're effective. Like, that's going to shore you up. And all it is carrying sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super effective and super efficient.
That's awesome. So, and the stuff that we just talked about is stuff that you don't need to be in a boutique fitness center or the most outfitted Olympic training center possible.
No way.
Where can you do this stuff? Anywhere
that you have a bag or handles. Like, you can MacGyver handles out of duct tape, man, and throw it on something. That's what I love about loaded carries and crawling.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, whatever level you're at, you can pick up, 2 jugs of milk and carry them for a minute, and then do baby crawls on the ground for 2 minutes, and do that back and forth for you might get bored as hell, but do it for 15 minutes. You're gonna feel great. It's gonna open your hips up, and I would say, for our road warriors, those people who are on the road with tours or who travel a lot, that kind of stuff is golden. Take a gym bag or a duffel bag and some extra shit in your suitcase, or just transfer the stuff from your suitcase to your gym bag. When you travel for the weekend, your suitcase is probably 30 pounds. Right. And if you do a one-handed carry with that, you're good.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Walk up and down your hotel hallway. Mm-hmm. Coach Fury, the guy who works here so much, when we were at our company retreat, did crawls just along that long hallway.
Yeah.
And did it for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And was dripping sweat and killing it.
Yeah, and he did them at different paces. So Coach Fury's workout was a fast crawl down and then a baby
slow
crawl back.
Baby crawl back, like a sprint bear crawl and then slow baby, which was so effective. Yeah, and he's like, "You should crawl with me," and I was like, "Fuck you, man! You look exhausted. I'm not doing that."
He asked me about it, and he asked me about it after he did it outside of the room that I decided to check my email while going to the bathroom in. Yeah. And that was horrifying to hear, just pounding on the floor.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
And then very, very light crawling on the way back.
Soft.
Yeah. Jeff, if you have one piece of information for somebody anywhere in the world to go work out anywhere in the world, what would it be?
Oh my God, I'm stealing this from Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt, who, was on Parks and Recreation, is kind of known for a goofy character actor who's a chubby guy and who's now basically the new Han Solo for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Totally.
At Comic-Con or something, somebody raised their hand. They were like, "What is your advice?" I always wanted to get in shape, and I've never gotten in shape. And he just gave the best advice ever. He was like, find something you really like to do for an hour a day and do it. And for me, that's kettlebell work or crawling. That shit is fun for me. For another person, if it's riding a bike, your hobby is riding your bike. You love to be on your bike. Yeah. For other people, I might piss people off on this. Zumba. People love Zumba because you go in for an hour and you learn your dance moves and it's awesome. Yeah. Tap dance, that kind of thing. Something that gets you moving for an hour, that's where you start. Yeah. Get you moving and sweating. I want you moving and sweating for an hour. Yeah. Some modalities aren't my favorite. CrossFit isn't my favorite. Right. Because I think for a lot of people who are detrained, who have never done anything in their life, their brothers or cousins or whatever are going to CrossFit and getting huge. And then those people go and they do lifts that are not necessarily designed for their particular history. Right. And then they get fucked up and then they blame exercise for fucking them up. It's not the CrossFit that fucked you up. It's the going from one end of the spectrum to the other. From being a video gamer who's now trying to do Olympic lifts. It just doesn't make sense to me. Right. You need to find that intermediate something that is exciting to you. Totally. If it's carrying a backpack full of oh my God, I used to load my backpack up with just whatever was heavy. And just take a walk and listen to a podcast and walk for an hour. Find a podcast that you like that's an hour. The Fitcast, Kevin Larrabee, or This American Life or something that's an hour long, and load up yourself with some kind of heavy weight, a loaded vest or a backpack or whatever, and walk for that podcast. Take a walk. Load yourself up and take a walk for an hour, and you'll feel better. And after a week, I bet you lose weight. Relatively. Totally. If you I took a walk for an hour and then you eat a pizza, that's not gonna help you. But find that one thing. Another movie quote. In City Slickers, Jack Palance says, you know what the secret to life is?
What?
This. It's one thing. One thing. And for everybody, if you find that one thing and devote yourself to it, you're good.
Yeah.
Whether it's your wife, your fitness, your job. And I feel like, honestly, that's the secret to fitness. Find that one thing that gets you in the door that you like, and then you'll find other shit that is fascinating. For me, it started with kettlebells. And now, barbells are so interesting to me. And crawling and calisthenics. Calisthenics? Are you kidding me? I'm the guy who couldn't do the pull-up test, the push-up test.
Yeah.
I never played sports in my life. Like, calisthenics sounds like torture. But now it's so cool. It looks so neat.
Yeah.
To crawl and crab walk like it's playground fitness. It looks so fun. I mean, it goes so well with my Peter Pan complex. Like, I'm 36 years old. Like, to crawl around on the ground and roll around.
Oh, totally.
It just makes sense to me. And, like, my gateway to that was kettlebells.
Right.
And I would have never, I would have never known about any of that stuff. But now that I started there, like, and I met people like you and Mark who, like, have all this cool knowledge, like, I just think it's fascinating. And you just need that one gateway that will expose you to this world that is so full of possibility.
Totally.
There's dance fitness. There's specific running things. If you like to run, go run. I only run for my life, but like, there are so many like interesting things about running, like barefoot running and cool shit. Like, if you like to run, man, run. If you like the elliptical, good for you. Yeah, ellipticize. Yeah, go when the Price is Right is on and like check it out. Like, do that hour. Go from the showcase to the,
Totally. But find that one thing.
Find that one thing and do it. Do the shit out of it. Be the best at it.
Be the best at it. Do the shit out of it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the Tuesday Talk. Tuesday Talks.
Guys, thank you. Jeffrey, thank you so much, Dad.
We are going to have more next week. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
I think I've sworn a lot more in that.
No, it's really fine. Wheels dropped an F-bomb.
Good.
It was okay.
Yeah. Well, she's trash. I love you, Wheeler. This is inside the actor's studio. Take one.